What's up, everyone? Ben with the BTC Sessions here, and this is your daily session.
Hodl the Bitcoin.
Before we dive into the news, I just want to remind you guys, please do check out my website, btcsessions.ca. There you can book me for your own BTC session. We can chat Bitcoin, chat wallets, proper setup, security, anything like that. All you need to do is just scroll down to the bottom here, and there's a contact form where you can reach out to me directly. Furthermore, you can head over to my Teespring link. There you can pick up the hashtag Bitcoin Twitter shirt. You can grab some swag with my face on it, and I'm sure I'll be adding more soon. And finally, there is an event happening in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada next week, which will be on March 5th and 6th. It is at the Edmonton Conference Center. It is called the Blockchain and Technology Symposium, being put on by the Bitcoin Rodeo. There's going to be some great speakers there, including Savadine, author of the Bitcoin Standard. We've got Rodolfo Novak from OpenDime. I'm going to be hosting a little bit. We've got a lot of great speakers there, so I'm very excited to be a part of it. And if you are going to be there, please do give me a shout. I'd love to meet you there, and maybe grab a beer with you. That'd be awesome. You can grab tickets on the website here, bitcoinrodeo.com. If you're interested, I'll have a link to that down below as well. But that is it for now. Let's dive into the news. XRP has been listed on Coinbase Pro. So it looks like the XRParmy has finally gotten their way. Their trollish comments have finally led Coinbase to add XRP on Coinbase Pro. So the official tweet from Coinbase reads, when XRP, now XRP USD, XRP Euro, and XRP BTC order books will soon enter transfer-only mode, accepting inbound transfers of XRP in supported regions. Orders cannot be placed or filled. Order books will be transfer-only mode for a minimum of 12 hours. So essentially them just prepping for new users to utilize that asset and trade it. Now, does this potentially mean that XRP is officially not a security? Well, not so fast. So there was some commentary from Jake Stravinsky earlier in the month. This is in regards to litigation against Ripple, in regards to it being a security. Today, Judge Hamilton heard oral arguments on the plaintiff's motion to remand and decided to cancel next week's case management conference. This implies her decision will take a while, or the case is just going back to state court. And furthermore to that, Jake Stravinsky commented, we are still looking at months or years until the case is resolved, but if you're a Ripple supporter, you probably want the case to go on for a lot longer anyways. Your earliest hope for true victory is far off. So yeah, don't expect any clarity on whether or not XRP is a security anytime soon. Now, I did want to take a look at the charts since the listing. So it's kind of following the same path that many other new asset listings on Coinbase have had. Everybody always assumes it's going to be the Midas touch. Hey, get listed on Coinbase, guaranteed pump. Well, yeah, but for how long? And XRP is more or less following the same path where upon announcement, it has a major pump and then it starts to kind of peter out. We saw the same thing with things like 0x and Ethereum Classic, where they got big pumps from the listing initially, but then a sell-off, and in the case of those two assets that I just mentioned, major drops over the following months. So will we see the same with XRP? I guess we'll see, but we've already seen the pump and we've seen it peter out since. If we take a look at another chart here, we can see we had that big dump that happened recently across the entire crypto space just the other day. Well, there was an initial pump that brought it up to around that level, and we've kind of petered out to roughly levels before the dump happened. So, you know, up a little bit, but nothing to write home about, I would say. I guess the biggest question here is, now that XRP trolls on the internet don't have to say when XRP to Coinbase anymore, what are they going to do with all their time?
I've got nothing left. I've got nothing left.
Okay, so we're going to move on to some Bitfinex news. So some of you may not have been around for this in 2016, but back then Bitfinex was hacked, and it was the second largest of its kind, because we had Mt. Gox back in 2014, which was the largest for around $300 million worth of Bitcoin. This one was a hack of 120,000 Bitcoin, which amounted at the time to around $65 million. What Bitfinex did with this hack is they ended up socializing the losses. So essentially, if you had money on Bitfinex, you got your balance reduced depending on the percentage that you had there. And you were compensated with something called BFX, or Bitfinex tokens. What these were tradable assets that could be traded for cash, or traded between users, or they could be traded for stock in the company iFinex, which is the controlling company of Bitfinex. So over the next year after that, by around April 2017, everybody had been paid back. So they took all of the BFX tokens off of the market. So people either had been refunded with cash in their accounts, or had been refunded with equity in the company. Now, what those BFX tokens were at and what you sold them back and forth for, well, that was determined on what people deemed them worth, or what they figured the risk of not ever being refunded would be at the time when they sold the tokens. Well, big news today, or I guess yesterday now, but the US government has returned some of the stolen crypto from the exchange hack of $65 million. Rejoice! We've restored our faith in centralized entities and in the law at doing its job. It's what a miracle. It looks like, let's just take a look and see how much they got back. So, I mean, remember, $120,000 was stolen. Let's scroll down, see what they got back. Oh, looks like they got back a whopping 27.7 Bitcoin. Just to clarify those numbers, yes, I did say 27 Bitcoin out of 105,000. When you put that in dollar terms, out of this 65 million, it's about $105,000. Or if you want to put that in percentage terms of the total hack, they got back a whopping 0.2% of the entire amount that was stolen. So maybe let's not celebrate too much. Kind of funny, but again, just guys, kind of goes to show, don't put too much faith in exchanges. Get your money off of them whenever you can, unless you're actively trading and you need to have them there, and not your keys, not your Bitcoin. So take that for what it is. Let's move on to the next one. The CEO of Abra is taking a jab at JP Morgan Coin, and centralized blockchain solutions. So he's comparing them to things like extranet or intranets or walled gardens. Let's get the actual quote here. So he said that for a year and a half, everybody was talking about this term extranet, taking the internet and making it work inside the firewall. It's exactly what's happening with this enterprise blockchain nonsense, where people have this fallacy that they're going to make blockchain work inside the firewall. It's all going to fail miserably. Now, he wasn't saying this specifically about stablecoins, but rather solutions like the JP Morgan coin, where it's permissioned, where you don't have open access to it, where, you know, it's for institutions only, and even if people get their hands on it, then they don't have any control over how it functions. But he did clarify in regards to actual stablecoins. He said, if they help consumers get money into and out of the system and are consumer friendly, then we're happy to use it. So, you know, it's more of a jab at the centralized nature of it. So we can leave that for what it is. I do find it refreshing to see CEOs in the space being voices of reason through the madness. So kudos to the CEO of Abra. I did talk about the JP Morgan coin in a previous video, so I'll link that here in the cards and down below in the description. Finally, I wanted to touch on this story here. Warren Buffett has, we'll say, not been a fan of Bitcoin in the past, but he made some more comments recently in regards to that. So he started off with the fact that it's ingenious and blockchain is important, but Bitcoin has no unique value at all. It doesn't produce anything. You can stare at it all day and no little Bitcoins come out or anything like that, which I don't know what that means. He continued on, people get their hopes up that something like this is going to change their lives, and it's a very ingenious thing to figure out how to have limited supply and to make it harder and more expensive to create them as you go along and all that sort of thing, but it doesn't, blockchain does not depend on Bitcoin. I find it funny because well, I'll move on to this. Now, he did famously refer to Bitcoin as rat poison squared, and he said it was a mirage at one point. Basically, he's just not very pro Bitcoin. Now, Max Keiser, the host of the Keiser Report, clapped back at him, unsurprisingly. So what did Keiser have to say? He said, Buffett's frauds are innumerable and date back decades. It's pure fraud. Its sole purpose is to commit accounting fraud for the benefit of insiders. In regards to the rat poison comment from Buffett, he said, he is right. There's no bigger rat than Warren Buffett. The world is waking up. The Ponzi schemes of Buffett are being revealed, and the masses are moving to hard money like Bitcoin and gold. This is why I love watching Max Keiser, because he doesn't pull any punches, and he is eccentric to the max when it comes to stuff like this, and that's what I watch him for. It's great. So if you haven't seen Max Keiser and the Keiser Report on RT, highly recommend checking him out. He's a really fun guy. Now, I will speak to Buffett a little bit when it comes to commenting on this kind of thing. And Buffett is not a techie guy. He is a very traditional investor. He invests in companies and things that are either hard, tangible assets or companies that produce very specific products that have value even in economic downturns, people that produce things that everybody needs in their day-to-day lives. So he's very conservative when it comes to that kind of thing. But because of that, he also misses out on very promising and incredible new technologies. So he famously missed out on Google and Amazon. And in regards to that, he even said that I made wrong decisions on Google and Amazon. We looked at it, I made the mistake in not being able to come to a conclusion where I really felt that at the present prices, that the prospects were far better than the prices indicated. So he ended up not being a part of the meteoric rise of Amazon and Google. And to further cap that off, just a fun story here that Bill Gates was the one that had to tell Buffett to stop using Alta Vista as a search engine and use Google instead. So Buffett, like all through the Yahoo era, continued using Alta Vista and did not. He essentially had to be told to stop using Alta Vista and go to Google, which is hilarious, and it kind of speaks to the level of technical understanding that Buffett has in this space. And so when you think of somebody like that trying to tell you whether or not Bitcoin has value, do you want to value that person's opinion on that particular topic? I personally like to look to people that have a better handle on technology. People like Elon Musk, who recently commented on Bitcoin and blockchain being brilliant. People like the CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey. He is super on board with Bitcoin. In fact, he leans Bitcoin maximalist, and he's been all over the Lightning Network lately. In fact, in relation to the Lightning Network, we recently had the CEO of LinkedIn pop in and attempt to get his hands on the Lightning Torch as well from Adam back. Now, I don't know if he actually got it yet, but cool to see people coming out of the woodwork from the tech industry. So really, take anything Warren Buffett says with a grain of salt, and honestly, when it comes to this realm, I don't really value his opinion here because it's not his specialty. Anyways, I will step back from that. Thank you guys so much for watching today. Please do remember to check out the website. Also, check out, if you're going to be in Edmonton, the event on March 5th and 6th, the Bitcoin Rodeo at the Edmonton Convention Center. I hope to see some of you guys there. Anyways, have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow for your daily session.